The Cathari Council had always laughed when Earth was mentioned. In their vaulted halls of crystal, draped in banners of a dozen worlds conquered, the name humanity existed only as a historical footnote. Their archivists described a young species that burned bright for a few centuries, squabbled with neighbors, then vanished into silence. No living Cathari had seen a Terran ship. Their maps showed Earth as a pale husk, scarred by old wars, irrelevant to the galactic stage. The stars around Sol lay quiet, too quiet, the scholars whispered, but that silence was taken as proof of extinction, not endurance. Humanity in their calculations was dead, their fleets reduced to dust, their story ended. And yet, silence has a way of holding its breath. Aye, ghost signals in the void. It began with static, random bursts along the Kevlin rim, where a nebula half hid the scattered bones of old stations. The Cathari patrol dismissed them as cosmic noise. But then the bursts repeated, rhythmic, deliberate, like a code half-remembered. Exploration frigates swept in, their scanners brushing across derelict hulks drifting through star fog. They found shattered docks, rust-pocked rings of metal, and colossal ship frames dark against starlight. Ruins, the analyst said, nothing but the corpse of an ancient yard. But as their readings deepened, unease crept in. The debris was too ordered. Stations aligned in arcs, power grids frozen mid-construction as though waiting. Vessels lay silent yet intact, as if death had not touched them, only sleep. For centuries these structures had floated as grave markers. And yet the signals pulsed again, stronger, resonating across alien hulls. Ruins, yes, but ruins that listened. Aye, the graveyard stirs. The Cathari sent more ships, scientific craft, war escorts, drones bristling with sensors. They mapped the graveyard and cataloged each silent Terran vessel. Then came the anomaly. Deep within the dock rings, a ship's core flickered. A heat signature, faint but unmistakable. Its reactors had been cold for 500,000 years, yet they warmed as though a phantom hand touched the controls. The aliens panicked. Orders clashed, withdraw or investigate, pride won. They pressed closer. That was when the graveyard woke. Engines roared like thunder across vacuum. Hull plating shimmered with lights long thought extinguished. Ident codes, ancient Terran, still valid, burned through every channel. The ruins were not ruins. They were an armada waiting in shadow. The silence breaks. One by one, the ships came alive. Their forms were brutal and elegant, forged for war in an age the galaxy had forgotten. Dreadnoughts the size of cities shifted like leviathans rising from abyssal trenches. Carriers cracked open their bays, skeletal wings unfolding, releasing swarms of drones that still knew their purpose. Cruisers hummed, turrets swiveling with predatory precision. The aliens tried hailing them. No response. Only the echo of human languages, archaic, encrypted, unreadable but unmistakably alive. Then came the sound. Not in atmosphere but through comm bands and psychic resonance relays. The roar of engines, the scream of steel, the storm of a people who had never truly died. The silence of Sol was broken. Terror among the Watchers. Panic consumed the Cathari fleet. Their ships, forged with the latest galactic technology, moved with hesitation, with fear. The Terran ruins moved with perfection, formations snapping into place as though centuries of drills had been compressed into memory banks. The aliens fired first. Plasma bolts, ion storms, crackling beams, none found their mark. The human dreadnoughts turned, armor absorbing, shields shimmering with archaic yet unbreakable strength. Then the response came. A single broadside ripped a cruiser in half, its wreckage scattering across starlight. Drones swarmed, disabling engines, carving hulls precise as surgeons, merciless as predators. It was not just battle, it was demonstration. A ghost fleet proving it had never surrendered, never aged, never forgotten. VI, legends walk again. The galaxy had long spoken of Terran stubbornness, of their wars against impossible odds. Scholars treated them as cautionary myths, but now those myths had form. One alien captain, before his ship was torn apart, whispered, "These are not ruins. These are storms chained in iron." The human fleet advanced, not chaotic but synchronized. Their signals interlaced across frequencies the galaxy no longer remembered. Old codes opened hidden caches in alien archives, buried warnings, ignored prophecies. Legends had become reality, and reality was terrifying. VII, humanity's design. For what enemy had these ships been built? No alien could answer. The sheer scale dwarfed modern fleets. It was as if humanity, foreseeing its silence, had forged a weapon not for their age, but for the moment the galaxy would forget them. Preservation, not decay, was their secret. Each vessel bore self-repair systems, memory banks preserving centuries of tactics, reactors designed to slumber, then ignite when triggered by signals unknown. This was not a graveyard, it was a vault, a promise sealed in steel. And now the lock had turned. VII, the Armada moves. The Cathari retreated, broadcasting pleas across every relay, warnings of ancient Terran fleets, alive and hostile. But the Armada did not chase blindly. It moved with purpose, systems flaring awake in careful sequence, star charts unfolding as though guided by unseen hands. Carriers spread their wings over nebulae. Dreadnoughts formed shields around command ships whose names were etched in ancient Terran tongues. The galaxy watched and trembled. Dread spreads across the stars. Whispers traveled faster than light. Worlds that once mocked the idea of humans now locked their gates. Councils silenced their laughter, staring at maps where Terran fleets advanced like storms rolling across night skis. Scholars revisited archives, shivering at forgotten footnotes. If Terrans fall silent, do not think them gone. Silence is only their waiting. Merchants rerouted their ships, fearing the shadow of ancient engines. Militaries scrambled for strategies, but every simulation ended the same way: failure against the Ghost Armada. It was no longer a question of if humans survived. It was how much they had left in reserve. The final realization. The Cathari had believed themselves dominant. Now they saw the truth. Humanity did not vanish. Humanity endured. They had built not just fleets but legacies of steel. They had preserved storms in silence, waiting for the day they were needed. And if this was only one armory, one ghost fleet, one so-called ruin, then the galaxy faced a darker thought. What else had humanity hidden? Aftermath, the whispered fear. In the years that followed, the stars whispered. Entire empires redrew their maps, leaving corridors untouched, fearing they might awaken another Terran vault. Explorers turned back from derelicts, terrified they might not be ruins at all. And every council, every emperor, every admiral knew the same truth. The ruins that became humanity's greatest weapon were not alone. Humanity had not simply built fleets, they had preserved storms. And storms, once awakened, do not sleep again. For the Threxian historians, the silence of Earth was a closed chapter. The archives told the same tale for millennia. Humanity, a reckless and short-lived species, flared brilliantly for a brief age before vanishing into the cosmic dark. The Council of Starkin debated humanity only as a footnote, a species that burned too fast, consumed its resources, and collapsed under the weight of its own ambition. To most, Earth was nothing more than an abandoned sphere adrift in Sol's light. The ruins of Terran colonies, scattered along forgotten trade lanes, were seen as little more than archaeological sites. To the young, the idea of Terrans was no more frightening than the dust of extinct predators. They had been erased, their wars, their songs, their fleets gone. But the oldest of the alien scholars whispered a question none dared to answer. What if humanity had not truly died? Whispers in the deep. The discovery began as little more than a footnote in a scout's log. A Carvathi patrol skimming the barren edge of Sol's system picked up anomalous signals. Faint, static-laden bursts echoing from the asteroid belt. Too regular to be natural, too decayed to be useful. Ruins, they said. Derelict machinery, perhaps, the lingering cough of reactors long gone cold. The patrol's commander recorded it, filed it, and moved on. No one cared for ghosts. But the whispers grew louder. Months later, mining drones reported massive structures hidden deep within the belt, skeletal frames of stations, their surfaces scarred by meteors, their shapes too deliberate to be natural. Still, the Council dismissed it. Ruins of the Terrans, they said, scavenger husks, nothing more. Yet those who analyzed the data found inconsistencies. Power readings, faint but unmistakable. Energy that pulsed not with decay but with rhythm. Systems that seemed to breathe. The tension spread quietly among the watchful. Something in the asteroid belt was not dead. The graveyard that watched back. When the Zalarian explorers sent their drones deeper, they found doors. Massive, sealed hangars built into the hollowed asteroids. Docking spires large enough to cradle warships the size of cities. The drones probed the edges and were burned away by sudden bursts of radiation. They returned corrupted, their data half-shredded, as if something ancient had bitten back. A name began to circulate among the alien outposts near Sol.